Hey, I'm Jitin, and I am making this video to show you how I use AI to create software. I've been using Cursor for a while, and it's really fun. Okay, the way I have been programming has changed a lot in the last few years. Now there are some other tools as well. You could check out Visual Code, and their latest update is good. That's what I heard. And there's also some other open source tools like Peer AI or something. I haven't tried them out or have not been tracking those projects, so I cannot comment on that. Then, of course, there are agentic tools like Replit, Bolt, Lovable, but I guess that's for a different thing. Like it's good to create software, but like if you want to build something complicated, you often end up using something like Cursor for that matter. Now, like there was this one idea that I had. Okay, I wanted to build a software that could just allow me to chat with a code base. Okay, and I had this last week, and this was something a piece of a puzzle that I needed to build for one of the projects that I was working on. And I thought, okay, like let me build this myself. Like I started like building it, and then because AI was allowing me to move so fast, I started putting together all the fundamentals around it, right? Like the UI, the design, that interactive chat interface, and so on. And you won't believe, like, okay, you will believe it's not surprising these days. But within last like 4 days or something, I was able to build out almost an 80-90% of the product that I wanted to build out. And I will show you what it is, right? And the fun part here is like the way I was programming. Like I've been doing this for the last few months and I did not even realize it. For the most part, I was just chatting, right? I was just interacting here. I would be more like a micromanager who's micromanaging the project. I would be telling AI, hey, do this, do that. And based on how things are shaping, I would be approving, rejecting, or making corrections or recommending corrections. That's what I've been doing. And yeah, like, I'll show you. I have to see what I got here. So let me first start with this. This is the landing page. So as I mentioned, this was a fun project I started, like, an app that will allow you to chat with a code base. Now, this is a landing page that I created with ChatGPT's O3 model. Now, I tried first with Claude, but it was very basic, not that good looking. It served a function, yeah, not too bad, but it was nothing, like different about it, right? It's something that you design in 2010s for that matter. But here with O3, it did a pretty decent job. Like, and I got like, it created all the feature descriptions, a pricing page. It got all these things correct. I could also add a video here when this thing is completely functional. I would be recording a video and I will just add it over here. And then all I had to do was just, just interact with that, right? In Cursor, I was telling, make this dark, change this, like, make this top panel black color, add a login functionality. It automatically added GitHub and Gmail. Then I said, I only want GitHub. I moved this text towards the left of the page. Then this was looking empty. Then said, like, give me a placeholder image. It generated an SVG for me, and I copied it over here. So within half an hour, I had this a landing page, which is almost good to go, right? This is a pretty good looking page, for an MVP product, right? And even like I suggested the name GitOwl, and the reason is I was able to get a domain, right? GitOwl.ai was available, so I just purchased it. And this AI, the credit goes to AI, right? AI recommended adding this owl emoji here, and now it looks so cute, right? So good. Anyways, so like this is the landing page that it created. Let me also show you the functionality. Okay, I'm going to log in. Let me grab the auth. Where's it here? Okay, so this is a project, right? Like, so what it allows you to do here is it allows me to add a repository. It allows me to then it like after I provide the Git repo URL, it will index that repository. It will create vector embeddings, and then when I'm chatting, it will look up the similarity text. It will look up the parts of the code which has more similar context, and it will pass it on to ChatGPT and ChatGPT is able to answer those questions. So this is what it's supposed to do. Here you get to add add a repository. You could copy over any Git repo. And after that, what happens is it starts creating vector embeddings and stores them in a database. I am using Postgres vector, PG vector, which is handy. I don't have to deal with other complicated tech stack and so on. It chunks out the content, creates the embedding, stores them over there. And then after that, I'm chatting with this code base. It will look up the similarity text. It will find the relevant parts of the code which are more similar, and it will answer my questions, right? Pretty neat. And of course, there's a lot of improvement here, right? This is just the basic version. And the second version could be a code review, or it could do some SAST and static code analysis. There's a lot of things that could build around with this. And the funny part here is this was not a main project I was looking to build. There was another project I was building, and I just needed a part where I can just chat with that or interact with a code base. And because AI allows you to do so many things, I decided to just slap this around, show you what we could do with AI, right? And make a video and maybe even put it out there in the wild, right? We will see where it goes. Anyways, and the fun part here is recently Andre Karpathy was also talking about this, wipe paste coding. Okay, I think what's the term he used? Wipe coding. And I didn't realize this, but even I was doing this over the last few months or something. Thing is, where you're just interacting with cursor, you're asking it to looking at the output and then deciding whether you want it or not. You're looking at it, as I mentioned, right? This was a very classic example of that, my landing page here. I was looking at it. I was like, yeah, this looks good. Change the color, move this left, move this right. It was not I didn't start building this with a design in mind, right? I just started, was it good, bad? And I was just accepting it, yes or no, right? Just things like that. Just go read this. By the way, this is a long video. I'm just making this for fun. This is a project I'm building. It's in Python. So I'm just going to show you how I've been building this. I have no agenda. I don't have any agenda with this video. I'm just making it for fun, just sharing it. Watch along if you find this interesting. And yeah, if you have any questions, you could drop me a comment, okay? But anyways, there's something I have in my mind, just sharing it out here. So here, Andre talks about called wipe coding. And here, you very fully given to wipes, embrace exponentials, and forget that code even exists, right? All I do is just talk to Composer with Super Whisper. And things like decrease the padding on the sidebar by half, or, accept all. So sometimes here, I request a change, or, maybe this could be an example here. I request a change or something. I'm not happy. I could just go and reset it, right? And again, start from beginning. So I'm not even afraid to make any major changes or modifications, because I know that all I could do is just go back, see what went wrong, and just click yes or no, right? And it does the job for me. So yeah, it is fun. But anyways, okay. So let me just go back to this project here. I logged in. So here, yeah, I'll just add my first project. So, okay, yeah, here. Right, this is just a fun project that I have. It's a Python library for managing memory with Postgres and PG vector. You could try this out. It's on available as a Python package. But anyways, so here, give me 1 second. Let me just fix this quickly. I need to flush my database. So yeah, I happened to change my database a little bit. So something is going on this. That should be fun now. Okay. Now here it's indexing. So what happens here is two things. Okay. I have a salary job. I'll just tell you what the salary job does here. Okay. while it starts indexing and it's creating the embeddings for me. So here there is something called as an add repository. So when I'm posting this thing, it will just create a salary job for me. Now this is a salary job here. So first is it fetches the Git repo. It clones them in my local storage for now. So I guess this is the storage that it created for me. So here it does that first, and then it starts working on this repository. Okay. So first what it does is it goes through each file, and it starts generating the embeddings. Okay, it creates embeddings and it stores them in the database here. I will share this. Maybe I will share this code. I don't know. Okay. So here, as you can see, just creating the chunks. I'm using the latest OpenAI's model here, and it just keeps storing them in the database. Okay, pretty much that's what it does here. And after that, I'm trying to create a project summary analyzer, project summary for that matter. Sorry, as in create a high level summary of what the project is. I've not been able to crack this. Like right now, it just reads the files and I'm just dumping into AI and it just creates something. But I'm thinking maybe there is an opportunity where we could use some model which has a lot of cheap tokens. Google Gemini Flash could be good because it's cheap and they have large context windows, up to 2 million context windows. So maybe you could just dump code after code and ask it to create summary, and we just store it somewhere, right? So that's one opportunity for us. And then finally a code mapper. So this is code mapper is something where it analyzes your code, creates how should I put this? Yeah, where it analyzes your code, and what it does is it creates a map of all the functions, all the files, where how all the project is structured, right? So that to be honest, I don't know where exactly I might want to use this, but something that could come in handy at some future time, right? Just a high level map of all your projects and all, because I can imagine this is useful for me, right? Like if I'm working on this, if I know how my project structure is, how different functions are organized, and how different function calls are made, all those comes in very handy if you want to refer and do something with it. So so as I'm going back to this, so what happens is first it is creating a repo index over here. It creates the embeddings and it has kept everything in storage. And then what happens next is next you could just start interacting with it, right? When if you're asking a question or something, it will just look up the closest answer and it will get back to you with answers, right? So that's what happens here. All that is in this function. So I'll tell you, okay, so now we have this over here. I'll tell you what we need to do now. Yeah, this is how it looks, okay, by the way. If you have already a project listed, it will just show up in your projects folder, and you could start asking questions with it, right? So I need to do something here because the version I created before this, it was just a 1:1 mapping between a database and between the Git repo model, and directly there was another model called as chat conversations where we stored history. But now I want to change this and make it more like Chat GPT, where you'll have the history of conversations here, and each conversation could have its bunch of messages, right? So I did that over here. So I have these two models, message and conversation. Okay. So what I need to do here is first create an API that will create the conversation. That is where I can create conversation. So it means, let's say if I'm asking this question over here, I click ask here, if it will check if that conversation, if there's a first time I'm sending the request, it should directly go out and create the conversation. So let me create an API here. We'll use a new composer, create an API. Yeah, I guess this should be fine. Okay, let's see what it did. It might get confused. I don't know. We'll see. in the sense that like I happened to make some changes earlier, and because I changed this model here, a lot of things, I asked her to make a code wide change, right? Update the model names and all that. So a lot of things happened here. So let's see what it does here. So what it's doing here is it is creating a conversation, JSON loads, request body. Okay, I should have been more clear here. This is not what. Okay, so I rejected that. I'm also gonna reject the changes in this URL here because we are not accepting. What else? Is there any other files URLs rejected? Okay. I should have been clear. Huh. Let me grab my model here. You will receive a message. You'll receive a message when this API is hit. Call the model. Sorry, and you could just interact with it, right? Okay, you could just the model conversation. What else I want? Okay, refer the repo ID. Third, title. Use ChatGPT to create a summary of the question. Create a summary. For title, use ChatGPT to create a summary of the question or summary to insert from the question. Let's see what happens. Something happening. Go to views. Okay, here it loads message. Okay, makes sense. Repository, which is fine. Let's see what it's doing here. Okay, yeah, this happens because it's not updated. I'll change this to 4. Oh, that's okay. It's going to create a conversation repository title. Okay, and I think this should work. Okay. Okay. The URL is okay. Fine. Now we'll accept this. We'll see what happens. And URLs is this. Okay, what its response will look like? Okay, this message. Yep, this looks good. This looks good. Only change I will make here, I'm going to do this manual change here, is change this to GPT 4. Okay. And here's the thing, rest of this 4.0. And here's the thing, right? It's even creating the prompt for that matter, right? Like, isn't it beautiful? AI creating a prompt so that it could use AI by itself. Like it's so we have this here, looks good. Now I'm going to go to my HTML file. Where is that? Static chat. I want this API to be called. Now I could test this API, but let's just wing it. Let's see. I think this is it. Yeah. Chat. Let me see how often this is being called here. Submit a question. Yeah, submit. Okay, I created the API and I'm just asking call this, and again, this is a lot of this is generated by AI. Okay, you won't believe it. Like, so first, I had a version here which was just an interactive chat interface, right? There was a input box at the bottom. I was doing all this, like testing all my code here. Unfortunately, I don't have that, like, screenshotted anywhere, but and I don't want to revert my code to show you that right now. But like, it did a lot of stuff here, and I was like, okay, if it's a new message, I want a UI, which looks more welcoming, right? Like, and again, here, this thing, if I, giving the sample questions, just click this and it will just update the question. Again, AI did this. I was like, I think I should show you the prompt for that, maybe after. But it was like more like, like if there is no conversation ID or something like that. If it's a new conversation, show an user interface in the middle of the screen so that we can welcome the user or something like that, right? Like that's what I just provided, and it did that. That all it was just like some interactions, change this, center this. I guess in the first iteration or maybe second or third iteration, it made these questions below this page, right? I was like, modify this, move that, just very simple things, and I got the job done. Anyways, so we are asked here, coming back to this, we have this function, and here we asked it to use the API, or sorry, call this API in this function, right? Let's see what happens. Okay, let's see. And this is something that I do. Like, I like to review questions. Okay, in the sense that, I like to review the changes that are being submitted here. This way, you could still remain in control to some extent. And again, what I feel is this is just a matter of time. Okay, like as AI gets better, like you all know how good DeepSeek and O3 Mini is also pretty decent. Especially working with it. I haven't had good luck working with it on Cursor, but at least on, like at least working directly, it will work. But here, imagine like how good Claude's next models would be, right? Claude Sonnet 3.5 is this, right? Like it's maybe one of the best coding agent, and they haven't released an update since, I don't know, March, April or something. Just imagine how good the next model is gonna be, right? So thing is, you may just have to interact. You might not even have to copy paste this code, right? You just, hey, when it's a new message, just do something and it might do it for you. Anyways, okay, so here it is, like, API, we'll just see how it is. Okay, it's calling. Let me just quickly check the URL here. Yeah, the URL is that, right? Like repository conversation. You're passing the ID followed by conversation, which is correct. Yeah, so here it is doing that application token, sending the body message, and it is giving me that option here. Okay, accept file. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, then just creating this, and okay, I think that this does the job for me. If conversation okay, and if it will await the conversation token, yeah, it will get the answer and it will get the conversation data. Okay. So next, what I want to do here is I'm going to test this. Okay, we'll just test this in the database. How it's like. Let's. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it is not making the network call. Let's see what happened here. Submit main question. If question main question is trim. Error cannot read properties. Okay, yeah. So there's the error here, right? Like something. What is this trying to do here? Okay, sorry. Let's go back. Job ID cannot read properties of what is trying to do here. Ah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wait, it should have the repo ID. Yeah, it has a repo ID of 41. And before that, what is it? So what's problem? What's the problem here? I have to debug this a little bit. Oh, Yeah, I guess here it made some mistake. You know what I'm going to do here is repo ID. It's I'll just talk about what the what happened here. Okay. So here, okay, this is something that happens when you're working with AI, right? So here, for some reason, it assumed that there is some element or something called repo ID or something, and from where it could get the value, right? But our repo ID is now actually being passed in the URL. It got that right in some of the previous function, but here I'm assuming because in my question, I just sent it copy pasted this function. I guess that's where it might have got confused here. Yeah, but anyways, I just asked it to make a change, pick the repo ID from the URL, right? And most likely this should work. Let's try. Refresh. Key. One more error is here. Get value null at reading value. Okay. What is this error? Cannot read properties of chat repo. Get reading null. Oh, what's the problem here? I need to check whether this question is also correct. Okay. Let's see. Get CSRF token, right? So why is this getting the error? Yet getting this done. Just copy paste it. Let's see if we can come up with a solution, or maybe we might just have to fix it. It's not a. Okay, what is saying? We need to add CSF token to template. Let's add it to the beginning of the body, blah, blah, blah. Where is this? Okay, here. Which line is this? Okay. Let's see if this makes the changes here. Okay, so here looks like our conversation went through, and yeah, here it's even us answering your questions, right? Like, good. Yeah, I just want to do something here. Check. Yeah. So primarily, I wanted to test how the API works. I was not expecting to show you this, but fortunately, it worked without much of a trouble for us. So as you can see here, our API, okay, this API that we created here, right? Like, if you're following this video from the beginning, we had a model that existed. We directly asked it to create an API that will allow me to create a new conversation, right? So as I mentioned, what we want here is a repository. It will have a conversation, just like how we see in ChatGPT, and then we'll have the back and forth messages, right? So that's what's happening here. So it created this API, created the mapping, and then we directly asked AI, hey, could you go to this UI that I built and create this, integrate this API in this function that I want. And all it did, it made some mistake in assuming how it would be receiving the repo ID. I'm willing to forgive AI. And then it made some error with CSRF. Again, not a big deal, but it works, right? It got the job done here. So we'll continue. So what we want here is, so this is what we want to do here, right? By end of the video, we want to show a list of conversations here, and we want when I refresh this, and if I select this, I want this conversations to be loading over here, right? Which means my app is now more or less done. How, by the way, I just want to show you, right, like how beautiful AI is, right? So this is the, the model that the code that I made. Okay, it's a Python PyPy library called something. I forgot. To be honest, I even forgot the name of this library that I made. Okay, that's my bad. But anyway, so this is a library that I've made, and I asked you the question, and like you saw the process. I explained the process, right? It built a pipeline. I created a pipeline where it is taking the code, creating the vector embedding, storing it, and then when you're asking the question, it will look up the fields and it will answer the stuff for you, right? So here, what are the main components? And here it's able to answer this question pretty really well, right? It's vector inventory model defined in models.py, includes so and so fields, utility functions, embedding generation, yeah. So it's amazing, right? It's good. Does a lot of job. And again, even if you can see here, this formatting, uh, the default was it was just a text dump, right? But here again, I had to kind of like work with AI, add some empty formatting, increase the vertical spacing, have a symbol if it's a bullet point, the things like that. I don't even know if what it's called, right? Maybe these are called just bullet points or something, right? Something like that. And yeah, it was doing all those things one by one for me. Okay, so this is where we are. Now again, these are some UI changes I need to make, right? If there is a conversation, you need to remove this, but all this is for a later. And there's also one more error. Not sure if you guys saw that, but maybe it's here. Okay, so after this conversation in this API, I think it's not an API error, but it's over here, right? So apparently, you see this error dump over here, right? Like failing row 3, blah, blah, blah. What are the main components? So I'll explain what this is. So I had this code structured such a way that when you are having an interaction with this, when you're asking a question, I'm trying to save that question and the answer in my history, right? So that we could look up. Now, somewhere I think like when I changed the model, it kind of got confused on how exactly to save the data here. I guess that's what's happening here. So we'll find like where this is happening and we'll try to fix it. Let's see, it's mostly somewhere over here. Is my analyze code. By the way, this is a function, okay, that analyzes the code for me and then it tries to save the data here, okay? So I think this is where the error is happening, I think. I'm going to close this for a second so that I have more space to read. Utils. Yeah, I guess the problem is here is this. And I need to check one more thing here. Whether in this API, what's a payload we are passing? Okay, we have a payload. We're just passing the repository ID. We need to pass the conversation ID as well. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'll just do a quick recap. These are my models. Okay, like this is I have one model which deals with the conversation, one model which deals with the messages. Then I have a model where I am storing the repository. You could ignore this. I'm not using that any longer. Code file is where all the code files for this repository are extracted and saved. And then I have an embedding where my embeddings are saved. Project summary where I'm supposed to keep my project summary and my project map. Okay. So this is what the project does at a high level conversation, and I have a message. So right now it's trying to, as you saw here, it is trying to save the data in my messages. But here it's also in the message, it also needs a conversation ID, which cannot be null. So that's what's happening here. So we will, I think for this, we have to go to the UI and request and ask it nicely, hey, can you send the conversation ID as well when you're asking the question? So let's do that. I'll use the same conversation here. By the way, this is what I was trying to show you right here. Just selecting this center, this for me, new chat button design. What is it? Okay, never mind. Difficult to find where exactly, but these are all my cursor composer conversations, right? Yeah. Anyways, we'll get started. Where are we? Here. What? One more thing I need to check is in this conversation, are we returning the conversation? And the answer is yes. And going back to this function here, where the function was submit question or something, right? And so what's happening here is in submit, if this gets called when you are like entering into a new message, right? Like if it's a new conversation, for example, I'm going to refresh this. Of course, it's not going to fetch this. So if it's a new message or something, when you're calling this ask, that's when this gets called, right? Submit main question. So here we are calling an API to first save the conversation. And then this is where the ask questions get called, right? And ask question is happens when at the chat interface, right? When you're asking questions, that's what it happens there. So I think this is the place where we need to modify the API, where we need to send the conversation ID as well. Okay, so let me just modify that yet. In the function, sorry, okay, also send conversation ID. Ask questions. Okay. Modify the ask question function as needed. Now, what I do here is like usually when I'm interacting with this, right, my questions are usually in a very dumb format, okay? Like usually I start like with very dumb questions, and if it gets confused, that's when I start providing it more details, right? This way, and like I also know how much I need to think through a problem, right? And how much of I could outsource completely to AI. So, okay, let's review. Okay, here, what is this question flow? But now pause. Okay, this is good. Here we have conversation. Wait, conversation. I hope it is conversation ID. I don't know. I don't think it is conversation ID. Okay, let me go back to the API here. Let's see. Create conversation. Yeah. Return conversation. Okay, yeah, it's fine. It's conversation dot I. Smart, good. Okay, save my time. It's conversation data dot ID. And ask question. Let's see how it gets called in the what modification is made in this idea here. Conversation ID. Okay, fine. And I'm just going to check one thing quick. If in my API here, yeah, I might have to modify my API here also, where I'm storing this. Right. This analyze code here, when messages are being created, I need to make sure I am also sending the conversation ID. So first thing I'm going to do here is accept these changes. We'll accept, and okay, which is good, which is what we want. And here in this function, And copy pasting this, sometimes it does not know, it might not have the files in the context, right? So that's the only reason I do this. In the function analyze code, send conversation ID when storing messages. Let's see. As I mentioned, this is going to be a long video, but it's fun, right? Like, it's fun to see how things are taking shape, right? I love this part. Okay, it's getting the conversation ID, which is good, which we want. And the other part is answer collected message and conversation ID. Yeah, okay, that's exactly what we want. Let's see if now we are able to have a good conversation with our AI. Refresh. Yes. Okay. No. Okay, here it is answering the question, which is good. Good. And let's see. Here it created. There's still something happening here. Okay, here something happened. Something happened. What is this null error that I'm getting? This is problem even right. I'm gonna copy paste this whole error here and see what comes out of this. I don't have the patience right now to just go over them one by one. Fix this error. Let's see what's happening. Now I should be reading it, but it's code analysis, line 88 here. Okay, maybe it's sending the value as error because in the message is required, not nullable, and we have been providing. Just fine. Good. Okay, let's modify to create a new conversation if one isn't provided. Which is fair, which is what you want. Oh yeah, makes sense. Okay, sorry. That was my bad, okay, actually. So here, yeah, correct. Yeah, the messages do not exist and wait, no, nope, we don't need this. Nope. You know what? I don't need this thing here because the thing is, it should be saving the conversation ID and it should be sending it along the way, right? In all the questions. It should not be doing this dance over here. So I'm going to reject this. And instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try. By the way, the shortcuts are Control I for composer, Control K for this thing, Control L for chat, right? Like it's, sorry, yeah, it's a very handy tool. I love Cursor for that. Add a print. Section. Now we are going to just track this conversation ID and let's see. Beautiful, right? Next. Start again. Ta-da. Let's see here. Conversation, review, response. I guess that's a problem here, okay? The response we are getting, it's conversation.id, okay? That's a problem here. That's why we are getting this error because it's not sending the conversation. It does not know what the conversation is. I do not know why I tried saving all this. Repository ID. What do you want? Conversation ID, receive data. response. But yeah, none, right? So that's a problem here because this is the response that we have, right? Now, of course, and this is me being dumb rather than okay. This is the response that you get from conversation API. Modify the code accordingly. Modify the code. Let's go. Where's the changes here? Okay, conversation. Yeah, that's what happened here, right? Conversation, ask question, conversation ID. Now this should work. Let's go. Ask. Hopefully we are lucky this time. If I guess it worked, right? So no errors this time. Response I have. Let's see what yeah, conversation ID is 4, which is good, which makes sense. We tried this 4 times. So we have our conversation, and let's see. Tell me about, do I implement this? I'm not sure if this would work, okay, by the way, because we need to pass the conversation ID back to this. That is good. I just want to check, right? So if this AI solve this problem for me, or is it something that I need to revisit it again, right? So that's why I did this. Okay. And all this UI changes, right? Like, and uh, okay, yeah. Look at maybe for the most part it does work. Okay, no, it does not work. Yeah, okay, makes sense. So, like what's happening here is like just to show you, just to tell, like, so when we are, so this function, okay, submit main question, this gets called the first time, right? Like when there are no chat history or no conversation, that's when this function gets called. And what this does is after that, it calls, like, based on the question, once it has created the conversation, it creates a question, this calls this function, ask question. Now, when you're interacting with this box over here, when you're clicking this send, uh, I don't think at that instance, we are trapping the conversation ID some way, and that's where this whole confusion is happening. So I'm going to do something here, and for now, just to keep things simple and I'm going to just add, um, yeah, I'm going to like add conversation ID and repo ID over here, okay, like in the URL, so just so that it's easier for us to refer, okay. Uh, we could save this in what do you call it? Cookies or something, like it's some application storage, not cookies, sorry, application storage or something. But for now, I'll just keep it simple. Okay, so I'm going to do this right now. Slides. Before that, we need to have a reference of how these things are handled. Here, we don't have this. It needs to be how we want this to happen is once this conversation is created, we uh, kind of like want to create a record here, right? Or something like that. And then that's when it should start doing, so yes, so start working towards this. So we are just going to first like list all the conversations here, which should be simple. Okay. Something weird happened. So as you can see here, it created the changes here, and yeah, it could confuse somehow. This code got, come on, cursor, don't do this. What is it doing here? Group conversations by date in the left sidebar. Show today, yesterday, or the date for older conversation. Display conversation snippets with timestamps. Fine, ability to click and load. I'm just curious to see if it's able to find the correct API. Okay, this API again, like partly created, for the most part, maybe created by AI. I haven't tested this, I think. But where is the history, chat history? Yeah, this won't work, right? Okay, so if okay, now this fine, it's fine. Yeah, we want chat history and we want message history, right? So this is, it should be. And this API is, let's see, this function is chat history. And here it is, okay, chat history dash slash repo ID, correct. So here, what is this format? Okay, this is the, we'll go from beginning to, yeah. What are the changes made? First is loading conversations, good, some animation for us. This is very smart, right? Like history for each client. Okay, assuming it gets the data here, it's going to start. Sure. This is what we don't want. PSP clears chat history. Oh yeah, okay, this is fine. This is a section where we want this to be loading. Chat history loading. So chat history loading would be this section. Okay, this section. That's what we're trying to do here. And okay, chat. I mean, like, thing is, actually, we need to just change all these labels here. Okay, like all these labels are not good. Chat history. Okay, which is fine. Chat history list. Just curious, which API are we calling here? Format date, formatted a load conversation. Conversation ID. Nope. 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 We don't have this API here, I guess. Okay. So there are some parts that could be accepted. We cannot accept this function, right? Like, this is what will not work here. Because as you can see here, this API does not exist, number one. And we are not trying to fetch specific history in a conversation. We're trying to fetch the list of conversation. I think we list all conversation history. Okay, maybe that's where it is getting confused. I'm going to reject this whole thing. And I'm going to this label. No. Okay. And I'm going to give this the URL just for reference. And I think I can add this files here, right? Like it, but sometimes that gets too heavy. Jeez. Let's see what happens now. So this is where it gets handy, especially if you could keep an eye on what exactly is happening, right? Like, and again, you're not dealing burning too much. Like even if I were to accept that, go try, test, something breaks, come back, investigate, that's fine too, right? And that's fine. Let's see. Okay, same thing. Okay, well, here it's doing is chat history. Here is modifying this function. We don't need this. You know what? I'm going to reject this too, and I'm going to ask it to create a separate function. Because this chat history, I might want to use it for my conversation, right? This labeling history, this is the chat history, right? These are just, and fine. Like, you know what? Um, okay, let's try it out. I'm going to make sure it's making the right API call. Where's the API call? You do. Pick one. Now it's getting confused over here. It is getting confused here. Sorry. Bear with me. Let me just discipline this AI. Reject. Oh, wait. Actually, it's my bad. Okay, it's okay. I don't blame the AI. I see the problem now. Uh, let's see. Okay, here it. Okay, yeah, it's actually sorry. Actually, that was my bad. It was not AI because here it's actually the API which literally fetches the conversation history from your messages, right? That's not what we want. We want the list of conversations, right? Damn it, this might. You know what? New. Okay, first. Uh, okay, create an API that will display the list of my for each repo. You will be provided a repo ID. Login required, get conversations. Okay, let's see. This so far good. Conversations filter repository, correct. Conversation ID title created at. Yeah, this is what we want. Okay, let me check here. Yep, this is what we want. Good. Now I'm going to ask this to call this API. Now let's see what happens. And one thing I want to say here is um, like the more you use it, right, more you get used to it. Okay. Like it's and the reason for that is, let's say, okay, like if you were to try this for the first time, like, oh, wait, it's generating. Maybe you might start having questions. Hey, you know what? Maybe you could direct. It might be faster to directly work with this, right? Like, and hey, how much time is it gonna take for you to create an API? Of course, it's not a big deal, right? Like, create an API, copy over an URL. You have the models, you have the knowledge for this, and then just scan through your this thing like to figure it out. But thing is, like more you use it, you more you know how to work with AI, and like lot fast you can move a lot faster. So that's why I was saying, like, if you're not using AI for your programming, you should really considering and actively use it. Right now, again, this depends on program to program, project to project. Like, if there's a very complicated project, there's only so much you could do. And this being kind of like a greenfield project, that is greenfield as in starting from ground zero, I have a lot more like opportunities here, right, to experiment and try things. So depends, but like again, like my advice here is just get as much hands-on as you can, right? Sooner the better. Because you are saying here, right, like I'm able to create and fix errors and like at a much faster rate, right? Like creating API, right? Of course, like here in the normal world, this would have taken me maybe, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, but here within a minute, right? That's time saved is time saved, right? And then figuring out like where exactly I need to copy paste those changes over here. Again, all those are time consuming things, right? Like, so yeah, this just allows you to save a lot of time. So load conversations. Okay, this is what I wanted actually. Create a new conversation. Load, yeah. Instead of load history, we'll do this load conversation, which is perfect. It is calling the correct API repositories. I'm just going to quick check this. API repositories, repo ID, conversations, correct. API repositories, ID, conversations, correct. Okay, get element, chat history, looks good. Chat history, this is what we want to flood. And here we have the title, the message count. We don't need the message count, but we will see how the UI looks. Let's see. And I'm going to go over here, refresh. Something got broken here. So what exactly are we setting here? Number request. Let's see. Okay. What is message set? Sorry guys, just bear with me. Get conversations has no attribute called as message sent. Is it an error? Yeah, okay. So here it has something count, which is conversation dot. Okay, maybe yeah, this part I guess it hallucinated a bit. Okay, conversation list. It is trying to, it's got all the conversations and we don't have the message set. Okay, which is, I'm going to comment this out for the time being and let's go. Yeah, okay, perfect. So as you can see here, yeah, so the error here was like, in this API, it ended up creating this one column called message set, right? Which was trying to display the total count of the messages, which we don't need, right? And I guess I also pointed this out over here, right? Like, why is it even trying to do this here, the count? Let me just Look up where the count is here, messages count, right? Yeah. Can you just ask a thing? I could remove it, but so as you can see here, it can get this for me. Let me, the reason I'm doing this, I'm just curious if it will just push the date towards the bottom here, right? Instead of like, doing that. Okay, to not do that. Okay. The date below and use a very small font. Also remove the border yeah. Let me see how Claude is. Yeah, I don't need that border. Turn the border. Wait 1 second. Okay. Remove the date and remove the border between conversations. Okay. Yeah, looks good. What do you think of the font? I'm just copying this from the cursor. Okay, I don't like this font. What's on? Don't use bold font, narrow the space. Yeah, good. Next, what I'm going to do here is when you click on one of these conversations, it should load the conversation ID also in the URL, right? That's what I'm going to do next. Okay, yeah, this is fine, right? Users not needed, but font. And I'm just okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Next is wait, what? Okay, yeah, it's now this is going to be big, okay? Chat.html. So what we have to do here is when I click on this conversation, it should load this conversation ID over here, and it should load the chat message with that conversation, right? So let's see. So that would mean is load conversations is this and load hit chat history. And if I'm not wrong, this is getting called away. What is this getting called? Maybe not. Can need that function here. Okay. Going to start dumping it. Load that conversation ID and the URL along with the repo ID, and load the conversation history. I have to modify the API, but I just want to curious to see what gets done here. So here I have this get conversation, which just done, create conversation, which is done. Oh, we might need a delete conversation too, but later. Chat history, this is what we want, right? Messages, okay. Yeah, right now this is, it needs a modification here. Right now it only needs, it needs a conversation ID here to be called, and accordingly a modification to the URL. Let's see what this chat here does. If conversation ID, load conversation, which is good, which is what we want. Load conversation messages, and okay, perfect, it's doing that. What else we got here? Now, because I started building this in Django, I started with, throwing some code to my HTML files and then some adding, like slapping on the JavaScript files to it. And it's all being created over here, right? One interesting part I noted here is because I'm working with AI, I can just work with the vanilla JS over here. I don't need React or TypeScript or things like that, right? I mean, maybe TypeScript might be useful, maybe, I don't know, but I don't need React here, right? At least if we can see what I've built so far, right? It's all part of the whole one single project, right? Just an observation. Okay, I'm going to go to this function here, load conversations. Let's see what it did here. Before that, URL, okay, set URL pattern set, push state set, fine, good. Submit main question, which is good. Okay, yeah, actually, okay, this is interesting. I was trying to figure out like how it would handle this, right? I was thought like this might be a separate exercise, but here it figured out, okay, it needed to, if you're, like if when you go to the blank screen here, and you, okay, and you remember like you saw that blank screen here somewhere, something like, so was trying to figure out how that would work here, but, so I thought, like when you asked a question, click next, then we had need an additional logic where it will push the conversation ID to the top or something like that, right? But fortunately, I guess it like handled that. We'll see how well it did. Load conversation messages, URL param, okay, conversation messages. Okay, good. There's a function I wanted to check. Okay. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, this was checking load conversation messages for, okay. Conversation ID, if good, update, okay. And we're going to test this, okay. It won't work because, we don't have the API, but yeah, okay, fine. We need to, let's see, what's the conversation ID here? Chat history. You just got to go to the URL and see chat history slash repo ID. Okay, we need to modify this. And here what it's been doing, this is chat history slash conversation ID. Okay, it does not exist, right? So it's fine. That's the reason you are seeing the same thing here. Okay. So here I'm not going to call, I don't need a composer here. I'm just going to do an inline editing, chat history. Okay. Change this to accept conversation ID. Sure. Okay. Messages, conversation, get request, conversation ID. Where are we sending it? Maybe that much. That's conversation ID. This is correct, right? This is the conversation ID, how we are sending it. Conversations, and here it is. Nope, this is not. What is this? Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. It's making the query here, conversation ID, and here we have it. Okay, it looks good. And update the. Oh, wait, maybe I should have used it. Template. I don't want to take you. Sorry. Take the URL based on the conversation ID requirement. I could have done this manually. Didn't do anything. Good. I'll do this manually myself. Yeah, AI is not taking out your jobs. Maybe this works. Let me just double check this over here. I don't think we are sending conversation ID in request, right? We are sending that in. Okay, yeah, maybe I don't need to modify this. Okay, fine. Okay, yeah, now you are smart. I think that is a smarter method, right? Let's. That's a smarter method. I was just sending that, and all we need here is repo ID. We'll get the conversation ID from the request. So I'll just have to ask my GPT to, sorry, my Claude. Claude to pass this in request. But before that, sorry, one more thing. This is send the conversation ID as a request. But I don't want this. Nope, 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 nope. That's not what I want. Hey, wait one second. Oh yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, yeah. This is get API call, right? So what the changes you made here? Again, same thing. Okay. Yeah, okay, get the problem here. Conversation ID, analyze. You just trick the same thing. But yeah, you know what? It's better to modify this. I think I know what the confusion here is. This is an get API call, and yeah, it's better if we do this separately, right? Like that makes more sense. But I'm going to do this. One second. Sorry. This one. Modify my chat history API and you as per this API call. Yeah. What is it doing? Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's still not the way I want it. It's getting confused here. Okay, wait. Maybe everything was correct. Everything was correct, right? Oh, sorry. This is me being stupid. Everything was there. It just what it's there. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Conversation ID, conversation. It's getting the repository from the repo ID, which makes sense. For getting the messages. I don't want that. Sorry. The previous versions were better because here it is trying to get the conversations and from the messages by applying the conversation ID as well in the filters. So yeah, okay, reject. We wasted so much time. No conversation. Fine. This wasn't. It created 5, which is good. We pressed it twice. That's what happened here. I'll let it finish. Yeah, it's like it off. X, okay. Because it received 2 requests, it's trying to entertain both of them at the same time, which is it's not loading the conversations correctly. I need to review this. I'm going to take a break here. I'll be okay. I'm back. What will be okay? We are having one issue here. Something to do with this. Okay, if I were to it's loading this conversation correctly because maybe our APIs are not working at all. And let's see what's happening here is what we want is messages filter query. I'm going to print out the conversations. Accept, okay, fine. Okay, so we have the okay, so the APIs are working, right? Somehow the APIs are working. I think it's somewhere it's not mapping that data correctly. And let's see if it's key endpoints. Do we have the data? Just okay. It's okay. It's only working for the first time, right? I think. Okay, let's see. Refresh. There's no data. Fine. There is data here. So yeah, okay. So there's some have data, some don't. 2 minutes. Okay. What are the main components? What are the main thing? You know what? I'm going to delete my some of the data here, or maybe create a new chat. How do I implement this? It was slow for some reason. Yep. I'm just going to verify because I guess I'm getting a little bit confused on how this data is. Okay, to implement this project, you need to set up a Django project. Let's see here. Oh yeah, okay. Then I guess for the most, okay, it is working then, right? This was the answer that we wanted. This is a different question and an answer. So yeah, so AI did this for me, right? Like, so I guess I was just not testing this correctly. And the last bit that I want is highlight the conversation. And after this, I'm going to wrap up at least this session. Oh, okay, beautiful. Okay, so here we have it, right? So in essence, what we have here is like, okay, something that I did in last 4 or 5 days. Um, like, we have a landing page. If I'm logged in, it will show me this access dashboard or something. Logout options are here. I go to the dashboard, it will show me the list of my projects. Select a project. It will like load the conversation that is highlighted over here. There is just this one thing which I need to fix, which I will do later. So it is this like, okay, let me think of some example. Explain this project to me. Explain this project to me and tell me the alternatives that are there in the market. So one thing is, say if I'm asking a question, it will answer it. I need to remove this section, right? So now this goes away if I refresh the page. But one second, just bear with me. Yeah, you're telling me about the alternative memory storage, Pinecone, VWrite, Milvus, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Oh yeah, that's something, another thing I need. I need a stop button. If I click stop here or something, it should stop, right? That's a good thing. This is what we know white-based programming, right? It said you see something, yeah, I need that. I could just go ahead, type it out, right? So as you saw here, if it's a new conversation, it gives me this window, right? But I want this to go away after the conversation starts streaming, right? That's something that I will work on. Then the last part here is maybe the stop button. And I think this project is good to go, right? I mean, yeah, payments, I might just make it free just with the cheap LLM for now, limited at 1,000 tokens or something like that. Sorry, not 1,000, 100,000 token limit per day per user. It shouldn't be too expensive. But yeah, it indexes the projects for me. It does this for me, project overview. I think this is one thing. Yeah, and I think like if I'm just creating a new conversation, by default, it does not get highlighted. It's only if I'm creating a new one, right? Like, but otherwise it does gets highlighted. And this looks decent enough to me. So yeah, AI built this. Okay. So hope this is useful.